Welcome back. This rehab day was squat focused, so I was tackling my knee head on. And I don't know if any of you noticed, but I am trying out a wider stance and wearing flats during squats. So usually I have a pretty narrow stance and use my heeled shoes, but today I'm switching it up. And this is actually a tactic that I use all the time in rehab. How can we change the way you do your goal/problem activity to make it less aggravating? Can we change up your stance? Can we change up the bar position on your back? Can we change up how much you're emphasizing a certain movement, like hip hinge versus keeping a more upright torso? These tweaks can keep you doing your goal activity without having to stop it, and it makes rehab feel much more enjoyable, as well as keeps you working towards your goals. So you can still get stronger and still increase what you need to increase while letting your body get better. And during the early stages of rehab, they're really a great time to explore and see what movements work and what movements don't work. Sometimes you might find something that feels better, and that's exactly what happened to me during this workout. The wider stance was much more tolerable and the movement just clicked today. I have been playing around with doing a wider stance in squats every once in a while, so I'll do a workout here or there where I at least hit a couple sets with a wider stance in flats. It's usually been lower weight and just kind of playing around at the end of the workout, but all of that exploration has paid off. So because I've done that in the past, it probably helped today feel a little bit better and work out some of the kinks earlier on before I needed them to be worked out. And I'm really glad that this clicked today because these felt so good, and I was even able to push one set at 180 with no aggravation and good speed as well. And hitting 180 for 5 is also really good sign because this is way earlier than I thought I would hit it. This is about 2 weeks, 3 weeks earlier than I thought I would hit it. Hitting it this early and at that RPE just shows that I have a pretty good base and I'll be able to make some good gains coming up. Now, this stance change will require more demands from my hips, but I have been building that up over time with the workouts that I have done where I tried it out, but mostly with the Zercher deadlifts and the bottom half Zercher deadlifts. Seriously, Zerchers are a great exercise and too many people are missing out on them. So the Zercher deadlifts and especially the bottom half Zercher deadlifts really kind of get me into that deeper position with a wider stance, and I'm really just doing the bottom half of that squat. If I do the bottom half Zercher deadlifts, I've been doing them with a little bit more of a lower hip position. So it is mimicking a squat a little bit more compared to my regular Zercher deadlifts, but that has really paid off with mobility gains as well as tolerance gains to that deep position. They're kind of like a horse stance to an extent. But anyways, for good measure and to push my quads as well, I still did some Megan Thee Stallion squats in the new stance, just so that I could get a little bit more tolerance to the position with the specificity of having the barbell on my back, as well as really push my quads to failure so that I can get a little bit thick and juicy and really kind of build up a good base. Again, this is a little bit of that exploration during rehab that is very important. I had no idea how my knee would be able to handle it. I hadn't really touched that depth for a while. I hadn't really pushed reps in that depth for a while. So I was kind of going into this blind, but I mentally prepared that I would stop soon if it was feeling awful, or I would keep pushing if it felt great. And they were only a little bit aggravating, but it was in the green zone, so that means that I could continue to push and progress like a madman, and that's exactly what I did. I just pushed, and then eventually my quads started to give out and I couldn't quite get out of the hole anymore, so the set ended. And this brings me to another point that if you're always afraid to push and afraid of pain, you will never get that psychological aspect of rehab that is so important. You won't find that psychological readiness and that psychological dog in you to just push your body and make those gains. Pushing your body shows your mind that you are capable and that you can do this. Every time you're able to push your body and especially push it to failure, it gives you data to tell yourself to not be afraid whenever you have apprehension to do something. It just stacks up data point after data point that you're feeling good, that your body's capable, and that you're resilient. And it doesn't have to be done all the time, but it should be done on occasion, if not just for the muscular benefit, but also for the psychological benefit. So those Megan Thee Stallion squats actually went really well, and I was pretty pumped with them. So I'm going to continue to do them to build up the tolerance as well as get those quad gains. When I did them before with my regular stance, my quads absolutely blew up, and now I actually have the ability to do them again, so hopefully they can blow up even more, and I'll be able to PR my squat when it comes time to competition. Anyways, after the squats, I gave my knee a little bit of a break with deadlifts, and to be honest, the deadlifts felt like they were 700 pounds. I think my body just wasn't used to the squats as well as hitting a little bit heavier of a weight than I have for the last few weeks. So I stayed made it 230, and the goal was just to move them fairly quickly and fairly smoothly, just to kind of keep those reps in with the conventional deadlifts and stay practiced with them. I wasn't worried about making too many strength gains or muscular gains with these. It was more about just kind of keeping things practiced and keeping that base up high. Anyways, that strength nerf was a little bit expected, so it isn't really concerning. There will always be a little bit of give and take when you try new things or whenever you kind of have to push one lift and then do another lift after. So it's good to come to terms with it, understand the limits, and understand where you want to and need to spend your energy. I know that I have a full workout after this and I want to push my quads and glutes pretty hard later, so I didn't want to push it too hard with the deadlifts and just kind of pound my head through a wall, not be able to do the rest of my workout, because deadlifts weren't the focus of this workout. They were just a little bit of practice. After the deadlifts, I went back to challenging my knee and quads with some jumps. It's good to get some fast loading in to challenge the tendons and joints in a different way and to build up the most robust tendons possible. So that fast loading is pretty good loading on the tendons, and it helps them to be a little bit more robust and well-rounded. This is just good rehab. Now, my legs were a little bit tired and I'm not a great jumper, so these were a wee bit awkward. If I don't do them, I won't get better at them. Like I've said in a previous video, lunges are comfortable, so I know I can push them, and that's exactly what I did. And good rehab needs to find these movements that you can comfortably push and still challenge your body. I cannot stress that enough. If your rehab only consists of low-load exercises for pain relief, then it isn't rehab, just straight up. It needs to prepare your body for the demands that are going to be placed on it. And so you need to work hard during rehab. So the goal of these lunges is to get thick and juicy so that I can squat more weight than I ever have before. That'll be a huge comeback from rehab to be able to set a PR. And because these are comfortable, I can push my muscles to failure and I can build up my quads. So instead of letting my legs go to waste and atrophy, I'm still finding things that I can do to push them so that they stay as strong as possible or get stronger. Again, that is good rehab. It's not about doing specific exercises. It's about finding comfortable exercises that push you towards your goal while you get better. And the closer those exercises are to your goal activity, the better. But with that being said, sometimes these goal exercises are just too aggravating. So you need to find something completely different where you can still push the muscles so that they get stronger. So these Hatfield lunges are pretty similar to a squat, but they're not the most similar. The loading pattern is a little bit different, but again, I'm still loading my glutes. I'm still loading my quads. I'm pushing them hard and I'm able to push them pretty close to failure comfortably. So I'm going to get strength and hypertrophy gains. And that is the goal. That is what I need. And that is what rehab should be doing. It shouldn't only be focusing on pain. It should be getting you ready to do what you need to do. And after the barbell rows, I moved on to some cable rows. And for that one, I had a mid to high elbow. I didn't worry about my elbow positioning too much, but I wanted to hit a little bit more of rear delt and the upper back musculature rather than the lats, so I just kept it a little bit higher. I also superset them with full ROM sit-ups, and these sit-ups are actually a hidden tib ant exercise and will blow them up way more than any standing tib raise ever could or could ever dream of doing. So if you're trying to decrease some shin splints and get a six-pack this summer, then this is the exercise to throw in for sure. I think that my tib ant actually gave out first on this exercise compared to my abs, even though it was pretty close. Anyways, this is a great exercise for the core, great to get that full range of motion, great to work into extension and get strong there, as well as bringing those muscles through their full range of motion so they'll get stronger. If anyone says that the core shouldn't be worked through a full range of motion, they just straight up don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand how muscles work. They don't understand that they're just there to either overcome a force or match a force, or if the force is too much, then it'll act eccentrically. Just because you're training your core in a isometric way doesn't mean that it's force stability. It just means that you're matching the force coming in. You can get more core stability by pushing those muscles to failure, probably doing a dynamic exercise like these full range sit-ups. Anyways, I want to make a full video on that, so I won't rant about it too much here. finally, I finished off with the most important exercise to do on your lower body days, curls. I like doing them this way because it gives great torque in the lengthened position. They give my elbows and bicep a really good stretch, and they make them feel good. So I love them, as well as getting that high torque and stretch at the same time is pretty good for growth. So I like throwing them in at least once every couple weeks when I'm being consistent with my biceps. And if I'm not being consistent with my biceps, then I just kind of start throwing in standing curls so that I can get back on track. I set the pad up on the bench so that the dumbbell doesn't cut the range of motion short, and it kind of gives a little bit more room so that I can fully straighten my elbow. Awesome. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it made you think and that it made you understand that rehab has to push you still. And I have said that before and I will say it again. I'll probably say it hundreds of times more. You'll probably be tired of hearing it by the end of this series, but I'm going to say it again. Rehab has to be hard. Anyways, thank you for watching. Now go out there and make some gains.